theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. One really interesting sort of below the fold aspect of the combat operations in Iran and their potential global economic impact has to deal with insurance markets. And I didn't really appreciate this till I started seeing some of the chatter online about it. And then the president responded. I mean, the good news is on almost every front or every assertion that's being made, from munitions to insurance to protecting American soldiers as best as they can be protected in a theater of combat, to the sequencing of how Israeli and U.S. combat operations occurred. I mean, the administration has been on it. They've got their best people out there. They're addressing things. They're addressing them over and over because you have to say the same thing 12 times for it to penetrate the consciousness of most members of the D.C. press corps. I understand that. But this insurance thing, this is one of the posts I saw from a guy who used to be in the Merchant Marine. Potentially the biggest Iran story no one's talking about. The global insurance market may be heading toward a systemic crisis. Most people don't realize London isn't just a financial center. It's the center of global insurance. Lloyd's of London underwrites 40% of the world's marine cargo. Ship sinks, port gets bombed, canal gets blocked, the bill lands in London. This is why the UK punches above its weight, not the Royal Navy, not diplomacy, insurance. Control, control trade. And London doesn't just control the 90% of global trade that moves by sea. Lloyd's and the London market are major insurers of almost everything: skyscrapers, factories, ports, satellites, entire supply chains. You can't participate in public markets or raise large amounts of capital without insurance. The normal playback for war risk is repricing, not cancellation. Canceling coverage entirely is a massive escalation in underwriting posture. It signals something beyond risk. It signals uncertainty so deep the underwriter can't even price it. That's the question everyone should be asking. Why? Why not just up premiums, jack up premiums, and make a fortune off the crisis like they did in the Black Sea off Ukraine? Well, you have to understand why London maintained a stranglehold on global insurance while losing nearly submarket related to ships. The answer is better intel. It's no coincidence that MI6 headquarters sits directly across from the Thames, the world's International Maritime Organization, the world's maritime regulator, and a short distance from Lloyd's itself. I have no proof of a direct pipeline, but it has long been speculated in the industry that intel flows from MI6 to Lloyd's. Having the best intel in the world would be the single greatest competitive advantage any insurer could possess, the ability to price risk that competitors can only guess at. The problem is the majority of MI6's intel doesn't come from its own agents. It comes from the Five Eyes: U.S., UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. And with it, the Five Eyes, the dominant partner is obvious. Our intel agencies, CIA, NSA. So if Lloyd's pricing advantage flows from MI6 and MI6's best intelligence flows from the U.S., what happens when the data pipeline gets throttled? Yeah, because Trump is none too happy with two-tier Keir Starmer right now. So this is what him outlining a potential crisis. And not 24 hours later, Trump posting on Truth Social, effective immediately, I've ordered the United States Development Finance Corp to provide at very reasonable price political risk insurance and guarantees for the financial security of all maritime trade, especially energy traveling through the Gulf. This will be available to all shipping lines. If necessary, the United States will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. The United States' economic and military might is the greatest on earth. And, of course, thank you for your attention to this matter. Really a power play by Trump against the insurance dominance of the UK. Maybe this is a little bit esoteric, but it shouldn't be because it has huge implications. So that's where I wanted to start to get some expert insight on this and, of course, many other topics. Katie McFarland joins us. She's the former First Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump and author of the bestseller Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. KT, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
What an excellent summary of why this is so important. Is the insurance industry drives global shipping. Global shipping drives energy shipping, manufacturing. So it's the key. And President Reagan understood similar crises during the Reagan administration with Gulf countries. And we then we reflagged and we escorted vessels through the region, and that stopped the Iranian Navy and anybody else from challenging us. So it's absolutely key. But the brilliance of President Trump's sort of four-dimensional chess is at the sequencing of it. So President Trump's first step was to destroy the Iranian Navy. Now that's gone. And so the next step is to escort vessels, or reflag them or escort them through the straits. So that's the second step. We're going to guarantee the free flow of trade, which is oil, which is manufactured goods, which is raw materials, really from Asia to Europe. But it affects global prices. But that third dimension of this chess game is that it potentially unseats Britain as the world's financial capital of insurance, reinsurance, and takes that another business line for the United States.
I mean, it really is something, and you're right. I mean, you have to think through the sequencing. It's something I said over the weekend when, of course, this campaign first started. Is Trump may be a bit impetuous rhetorically, but strategically he's a thinker. He's a planner, and I was thinking about it not with the sequencing you were just describing, but it fits the pattern. I was thinking about it with respect to, Abraham Accords, taking out Soleimani, what he was in process of doing in his first term, and then there was that little interregnum, and now he's picked it up in his second term of really reshaping the Middle East through alliances with erstwhile allies of convenience, but against the one central adversary in the region.
In the very first week of the first term, we sat in the White House Situation Room, and normally a new change of administration, you go through country by country, what do you want our policies to be, what changes to make, and we got to Saudi Arabia. And I made the case that, we've always done business with the older generation of the Saudis. They're terrorist compliant, but they've been with us in a lot of energy issues. But there was a generational leadership struggle going on. And Jared Kushner made the case, no, we should trust the younger guys. We should work with them. We should tip our hat to them because they want to open their societies. They want to open their economies. They understand they've got to diversify their economies away from just being oil exporting countries to being technology countries. And the younger generation of leaders who were in their 30s, as opposed to the old guys in their 80s, there was no middle generation. It was young guys or the old guys. That the young guys had all been educated in the West. They were comfortable with open societies. They understood how world markets worked, and those would be the people that we would back. President Trump made that strategic decision the first week of the first term. Therefore, the first foreign trip he took was to the Middle East to meet with those young leaders. Because of Trump's support for them, they were able to consolidate their power in country after country in the Gulf. As a result of that, we got the Abraham Accords. As a result of that, we got the Gaza peace plan with those countries underwriting the peace in the Middle East. And as a result of all that, now that we're attacking Iran is now isolated, has no friends in the Middle East, and those countries have now joined forces with the United States and Israel against Iran. That it would have been unheard of 5, 10, 15 years ago. But President Trump said it from the first week of the first term. It's been methodical, it's been strategic, and it has been sequential. And here we are today on the cusp of remaking that, not just with the world.
And so and with respect to the regime in Tehran, such as it is, the reporting out now is that they're not so ideological that they won't engage in a little nepotism. And that Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, is going to be the successor. I mean, does it particularly matter at this point, especially if his shelf life is not too long? Does it matter who they're standing up as the front guy with an idea that we're in the business of eliminating their capacities, eliminating the police state. Israel's sort of on that job right now. And we'll see what things look like when the dust settles in 4 or 5 weeks.
I can make a bad joke about who wants to issue him life insurance. But
yes, right. Yes, right. Yeah.
No, I mean, one of the methodical and strategic steps with regard to Iran is that Iran is now defenseless. Because of what the United States and Israel have done over the last year, it no longer has an air defense system. It can no longer shoot anything down. So we own the skies. So any drone attacks, any missile attacks, Iran just has to absorb them. It has no defense against them, no perimeter defense, no long-range defense. The only thing Iran has left militarily is a lot of missiles, and it can use those missiles in retaliation, which is what it's doing. And so as the United States works our way down the target list, the United States and now our other allies who have joined the fight work their way down the target list of what to destroy in Iran. It's not just the nuclear sites. It's not just the top tier of the military and civilian leadership and the Ayatollahs. It's also the production capacity of Iran to make missiles. It's where the missile depots are. It's where the launchers are. It's the command and control. We're working our way down that target list. And again, no opposition, only retaliation. And that means that we'll take hits in the sense of it will not be a cost-free operation. But at the end of the day, we win just because the Iranian people don't like their leaders. Iran is broke. Iran is isolated diplomatically. It's isolated militarily. It has never been as weak as it is now. And if we do not seize this moment to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons-making capability, then we'll have to live with potentially a nuclear Iran. As far as regime change and all that stuff, it's nice, noble goals, but that's not our purpose here. Our goal is to stop Iran's nuclear program and the people who are all hell-bent on having nuclear weapons.
And the sort of doing the threat assessment, is there a scenario that you can game out where you think this could go sideways on us over the next 4 or 5 weeks, or is the die pretty much cast and we're just obviously trying to focus on getting Americans out who are in harm's way and protecting soldiers who are putting themselves in harm's way as much as possible?
Okay, so the way this could go sideways is if Iran continues to has success with its missile program, whoever it's bombing, and it's bombing civilian sites as well as military sites. It's not having the effect of deterring countries from joining us. In fact, it's having the opposite effect. What could happen, though, is that we shoot missiles out of the air. We're trying to destroy their missile sites, their drone sites. We could, there's a limit to how much anti-missile, anti-drone capability we have. There's a supply problem. The other thing that goes sideways is maybe the Iranian people aren't up to governing themselves. Mm-hmm. The other thing that may go sideways, IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is a whole lot different and more in our armed forces. It's their military plus their industrial complex. The military owns their industry of defense. It owns their intelligence industry. It owns 50% of their economy. So maybe those guys decide they're just going to keep fighting. But as long as the United States can continue to destroy and pound them, you've got to assume that with the intelligence that the Israelis and the United States have, the deep penetration Mossad has made into Iran's military intelligence and civilian leadership, that there's a plan there. They know who they're going to be able to work with in a post-regime government.
The munitions piece, that this has been raised as, well, we don't have the weaponry to go on forever. So that's another limitation in terms of concerns about being a quote unquote endless war. Trump responded to that yesterday as well, saying the United States munition supplies have, at the medium and upper medium grade, never been higher or better. We have a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons. At the highest end, we have a good supply, but are not where we want to be. Much additional high-grade weaponry is stored for us in outlying countries, and he went on to criticize Sleepy Joe and giving weapons to Ukraine. But the point is, what is the assessment of munitions limitations we have? Is that a serious structural problem, or is it just a problem that we can solve over time?
Well, we don't have an endless supply, but they're not an endless supply of targets either. So it's now going to be play out the calendar. At what point does the IRGC start fracturing? What point do you start? And I think you'll start seeing this within a week. Is that units of the IRGC located in different parts of the country may just to accept Trump's amnesty. That's why President Trump, when he made the statement of what we were doing, people need to look at what he says very carefully, because he talked about amnesty. It's never talked about before. Bush never offered amnesty. Obama never offered amnesty in their military engagements. But President Trump said, lay down your weapons. Well, here are our goals. No nukes, no missiles, no proxies fighting against us or our allies in the region. You do that, you can lay down your goals, and then you can participate in Iranian politics and life going forward. He offered immunity. So I think what will start happening is if you're someone in the IRGC and you've just seen all the other leaders be assassinated and killed and bombed and destroyed and vaporized, you have to think, well, am I in this for martyrdom? Or do I want to survive this and somehow keep my position, my power, my money, my authority, and work with a new government that is going to abide by the American demands?
And how does China pivot here when there's, the amount of oil they buy from Iran is now erupted? How do they pivot in this sort of rapidly reshaping Middle East?
That's the second part of it, is that China was buying almost all of Iran's oil at steeply discounted prices because it's sanctioned, buying 75% of Venezuela's oil, again, at steeply discounted prices, and almost all of Russia's oil and gas at, again, steeply discounted prices. So China's manufacturing has depended upon steeply discounted prices of energy that it has to import. China has no energy of its own. It has dirty coal, but no oil, no gas. So it needs to import, and it wants to import at a cheap price. So as President Trump said after the Venezuela operation, when asked, well, what about China? China gets a lot of its energy and oil from Venezuela. And he said, well, they can continue to do it, but they're going to have to pay market rates because America is going to be in charge of Venezuela's oil production and sales. So, so this is squeezing China big. It's China no longer has Venezuelan oil, potentially longer Iranian oil. Has this Russian oil, and Russia needs to continue to sell at discounted prices to keep paying for the Ukraine war. Look, the timing of this operation has been very carefully thought through and done. It is a risk, but it is a calculated risk, and it's potentially the price worth paying to remake the Middle East and to remake the world, especially in the future when you realize that quantum computing and artificial intelligence take exponentially more energy than we even have today.
What do you say to some of those ostensibly on the right or center right or somewhere not on the left? I mean, I'm not even sure where these people are at this point, honestly. But what do you say to them when they say things? Well, Megyn Kelly's a good example. When she said the other day that the initial Forest Service men and women who were killed in action, they didn't die for America. They died for Iran and Israel, and that's why we shouldn't be there. What do you say to that mentality?
I think that the operation ethic theory is both America first in its essence, and it is MAGA. America first, why? Because Iran has shown, especially now that it's trying to rebuild its nuclear sites that we destroyed just a few months ago, it is not going to negotiate away its nuclear weapons, and it is not going to stop at the quest for nuclear weapons. It's not going to stop their development of intercontinental ballistic missiles. In other words, making nuclear weapons, put them on a missile capable of destroying in the United States or blackmailing the United States. So Iran has to be, if your goal here, existential threat to the United States is nuclear attack, and Iran is hell-bent on getting nuclear weapons no matter what, you've got to stop that program, and you've got to stop that leadership in its tracks. So then the matter becomes of what time, when, how. And so America first, putting America's interests first, this is not necessarily about changing the regime in Iran or the human rights issue in Iran. Those are all no goals. They're not addressing the existential threat to the United States. A nuclear Iran is an existential threat to the United States. Everybody got it. But the second part of it is MAGA. Make America great again. America is not going to be great in the future unless it dominates the world energy supply. China was well on its way with Russia, Iran, and Venezuelan oil. But the United States has now flipped that script, and the United States is now in a position of dominating. You know, when Trump talks not about energy independence, he talks about energy dominance, that we will dominate the world's energy supply.
KT McFarland, former first deputy national security advisor to President Trump, author of the bestseller Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. KT, thank you, as always, for allowing us to enjoy your font of wisdom. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, KT. And KT joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We've all heard the news. The flu virus has mutated again, and the vaccine just isn't as effective as they hoped. It leaves you wondering, how do you stay safe? But you have a powerful, God-given immune system